Yes, we are.
Okay, great. Welcome everyone to the Port of Olympia Remote Commission meeting of May 10th, 2021. Port of Olympia is working diligently to address the threat posed by COVID-19 to Thurston County, the state of Washington, and the United States. On March 16, 2020, the Commission adopted Resolution 2020-03 authorizing certain emergency powers in light of the COVID-19 outbreak, including invoking applicable emergency exemptions to meeting notice requirements and location restrictions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Pursuant to Resolution 2020-03, the Port of Olympia Commission is conducting today's meeting remotely. The Port is following the guidance from Thurston County Health Department to take all efforts to prevent the spread of this virus and is acting in the interest of the safety and welfare of the public, the community, and our employees to limit its spread. So with that, our next item is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to ask our Executive Director if you'd like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight.
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sam. Next, we'd like to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
moved. Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, great. We have an agenda. And the next item is Executive Director Report.
I had to unmute myself. Next slide, please. I am pleased to announce that once again, and for the 10th quarter in a row, the stormwater treatment facility at the Marine Terminal is functioning, and we have met benchmarks according to the Industrial Stormwater General Permit guidelines. I'd like to show appreciation for our terrific team. It includes support staff members Barb Tope, Paul Mickelson, Frank Boss, Dwayne Trammer, Dane Musser, and Conley Booth, as well as all other operational staff. This really is a team, ongoing team effort. And I am just pleased that we've been able to meet these benchmarks for 10 quarters in a row. Next slide. I'd also like to report that the Port has had 18 staff members take and pass the Certified Tourism Ambassador training through Experience Olympia and beyond. We have more staff members ready to take the training later this year. The program helps increase tourism by inspiring hospitality professionals and community members to turn every visitor encounter into a positive experience and become well-informed, enthusiastic advocates for their region. I attended this training, I think it was just last week. It was really terrific and really does help us in obtaining that, like every interaction, you know, if somebody is at the marina and they just stop a maintenance person, that maintenance person is going to be well acquainted with the resources in the area, things to do in the area, and be able to point them in the right direction. Next slide. Staff were also recertified in first aid training and CPR training this past week. The certification is good for 2 years and is part of the Port's ongoing safety and training programs. Next slide. And we are happy to announce that the Swantown Marina was voted Best of the South Sound for Best Marina in South Sound magazine for the 2nd year in a row. We can't think of a better way to start the 2021 voting season. I'd like to thank the public for their votes. Next slide. The Port is a proud partner of Thurston Strong. Thurston Strong is a collaborative effort to coordinate a multifaceted response to the COVID-19 pandemic and its specific impacts to and throughout our broader Thurston County community. Partners include the City of Lacey, City of Olympia, City of Tumwater, Community Foundation of South Puget Sound, Experience Olympia and Beyond, Pacific Mountain Workforce, Thurston County, Thurston Economic Development Council. Jenny Folia-Jones led the effort to help tell the story of work Thurston Strong has been doing and continues to do to help create a more resilient Thurston County. The video can be found online at thurstonstrong.org. Next slide. The Port is hiring for a capital investment planning and environmental program director. The application deadline is May 18th at 11:59 p.m. Qualified candidates can find more information in the application at portolympia.com. Next slide. The Seaport Spring newsletter was released on April 28th. You can view the newsletter and sign up to receive them directly by visiting portolympia.com. And next slide. And as always, we have several ways for the public to engage with us. Here are some of the easy ways to contact us, give us feedback, or request a conversation. And that's it for today.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate that. Sorry I missed that first aid training. I would like to have recertified myself, and I was able to make it to the last one a year or two ago. So anyway, thank you for that. I'm going to turn now to the litigation report. Felicia, do you have a report tonight?
There is not a litigation report tonight.
Thank you. I'm a little remiss in that I didn't check with Aspen, but I didn't hear from Aspen, so I'm not sure we have anyone signed up for public comment tonight ahead of time. Is that true, Aspen?
We do not have anyone signed up ahead of time.
Okay, thank you. Well, in that case, I will ask anybody on the line if they'd like to give public comment, as is our typical fashion. So anybody on the line like to give public comment, please just say your name and the town you're from. Okay, last call for public comment. Okay, thank you. We're going to go ahead and move to the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of April 19th, 2021?
So moved.
Commission work session and April 26th, 2021 commission meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I mean, both of them, I think, are moved.
Seconded.
I'll second them. Yes.
Thank you, commissioners. I just have one question of Aspen. So before we take a vote here, and that is Aspen, I didn't see any red lines in there, so I take it there were no corrections? Because
That's
there are no red
correct. I did not receive any red lines.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar, please say aye.
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 That motion passes. Thank you, commissioners. We're going to move now to item H, which is the action calendar. And we have security contract 2021-1002 on Len Fosher presenting.
Good evening, commissioners. Len Fosher serving as your Marine Terminal Director, and I don't see myself on the camera, and I'm not sure why, and can't see anything blocking my camera, so my apologies. But I'm here to present to you Security Contract 2021-1002. Next slide, please. So the background is for this contract, and we came to you for the advisory 2 weeks ago on this. This is a security requirement for the Maritime Transportation Security Act 2002. Securitas is the current contractor and has been in that role since 2004. Security for the Marine, this contract has security for the terminal, the Marina, and the Peninsula properties. And the current contract expires on May 31st, 2021. Next slide, please. So again, some background on this. We sent out a request for proposal, which was issued on March 25th. The proposals were received on April 8th, and 2 firms came back with responses. Next slide. So we had 2 acceptable bids, responsive bids. that came in, and one of them that we was the lowest responsive bidder was Allied Universal, and that's the security contract that we're presenting in front of you today. Next slide, please. So for a quick contract summary, this is for 2 years, starting June 1st, 2021 and expiring May 31st, 2023. The annual amount is $419,527, and it's an annual increase of $121,000. Next slide, please. So for some budget impacts, and I thought this might be some information. So we talked a little bit about budget impacts last week. So specifically, the terminal would have 42,000, just shy of 43,000 in budget impacts. The marina, 20,000, and Peninsula Properties just shy of 8,000. Next slide, please. And for cost recovery and cost recovery strategies, Marine Terminal, we would anticipate minimal impact. First, we've got reimbursement through the land lease agreements with our tenants for fixed recovery costs. This is proportional acreage that we have with our tenants, and the full cost of the gate guard is taken care of based off of the acreage division. And then we have a tariff adjustment for the variable cost recovery. So we're able to recoup all of what the ship guard would be taking on, and then the difference on the cost increase for what the gate guards would be. Next slide, please. For the marina and the Peninsula Properties, we expect minor impacts, both looking to take on internal budget adjustments for their tenants accordingly. Next slide. So next steps, we're hoping for commission action today. And then we'd be contacting and have a meeting set up later this week with the new contractor as part of the transition process based off of getting ready for June 1st. We will continue to evaluate the tariff adjustments, and we'll be continuing to plan for the 2022 budget. Next slide. And with that, I have a sample motion, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thanks, Len. Great, that's great. And Commissioner Zeta or McGregor, do you have any questions or discussion before we move forward with a sample motion? Oh, I see Commissioner Zeta's hand up. Please, go ahead.
Well, Mr. Fosher, I want to thank you for putting this out to bid and following the correct process. I understand that it costs more. I also understand that you are raising the tariff rates and the lease rates per acre or per square foot on the marine terminal. I understand the security rates would go up $300 per day. And of course, we don't know how many, would that be every day of the year, or do we know how many days that would be?
Commissioner, that's a good question. It's variable based on how many ships that we would have. So it wouldn't be every day of the year. One, the cost for that is variable as well based on the amount of ships and cargo that we're going to have accordingly for the year. I can give you approximations if you'd like.
Oh, if you have one, sure, that's great.
Sure, I am just roughly speaking, if you had, it's about 6 days for each ship of security services. And, you could say 24 ships.
Oh, I don't know if you are still speaking, Mr. Fosher, but we're not hearing you.
Oh, I'm not speaking, and I am sorry. I have no idea what my kids must have done to this, but I just see a side thing, and I'm hitting all the buttons, and I have no idea.
That's funny.
Let's see, that's 6 ships, 6 days per ship, and 24 ships per year, $300 per day. That would be an extra $43,000. Does that sound about right?
It sounds about right, Commissioner.
Okay. And then you said something about the lease rate going up?
That's correct. It's the proportional share so the front gate is divided by the proportional share of acreage that each tenant has. So each tenant's going to be responsible for an additional amount per year. So that's the other difference that makes up for what the expenses would be.
So the lease rate will go up enough to cover the extra cost, is that right?
Yeah, and let me be clear on it. It's not the lease rate itself. It's not the lease rate. It's a service rate. So this service for providing security it's divisible by the amount of acreage, and that component is in the lease. It's an item in the lease as an additional charge. So I just don't want to be confused that that's not part of the lease rate. That's an additional charge that the tenants are already paying.
Great. So while this is going to cost more, all those costs will be recovered. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, Mr. Fosher.
I have a couple of questions if I can. We are required to have security, and it has to be an approved security firm under Homeland Security. Is that not correct?
Yes, we need to have security based off of our facility risks. That's correct, Commissioner.
So this is a mandated item, but no funding from the government to help with the cost of that mandated requirement, correct?
Yes, Commissioner. And if the camera could see me right now, I had a little smirk because, yeah, it seems counterintuitive that we wouldn't get funded by the federal government, but that is correct.
Okay. And so the other item I had was, if you look at your motion, you're showing the amount at $419,527, if I can get to that.
Yes, that's the maximum amount, Commissioner.
Right. But that is for an annual basis, and this is for a 2-year contract, correct?
Correct, Commissioner. My apologies. I should have put the full amount for the 2 years.
So the motion should read whatever 419,527 times 2 is. Is
Yes,
what?
Commissioner, my apologies.
Yeah.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay.
I apologize, Sam. It's usually one I would have caught.
So real quick, adding up would be
839,054.
correct. 839,054. Okay. So we'll just need to make that in when we make the motion on this. Then we have to make sure we include that, right? Is that the motion that I'm trying to?
Good
Can you
catch.
Can you flash that again? I'm looking at the one that was on, I guess, on the packet. But okay, there we go. So we'll just have to make that catch in there because it is for a 2-year period.
Right.
Okay.
Or you could
Good
add
catch.
the words per year at the end.
Or we could say 419.50, 527 per year.
In fact, there was no amount in our original packet. This is a change from the packet that we had.
So yeah, good discussion. I think we just need to change that 419,527 to 839,054. Whoever reads the sample motion, that pretty much says it. So, but before we go on to that, Len, I had a question. I think there was good dialogue between you and the commissioners via email to understand totally what this contract is about, or security services. And my only question was, I have a personal desire that it would be a little more effective for me if the security company had their own trucks that said Allied Security on the side, but that's just my opinion. Doesn't really count for a lot. I'm okay with them using Port of Olympia trucks because that's what you told me in the email, that part of the RFP on page 14 says that Port of Olympia trucks will be provided as they do their rounds, so to speak. And but the interesting thing that brought up is that the contract, the draft contract, is 3 or 4 pages long, but the RFP is 20 pages long or so. So does the company, it's curious that the RFP has a lot more detail about how this company is to operate our security compared to the contract. Is that normal? Is that normal that you're really going to have two documents that the company is working in? One is the RFP and the other is the contract.
So Commissioner, and that's a good question. What we're going to do is copy or include the RFP as part of the contract.
Oh, okay.
So when we send the contract to them, it'll include the RFP as an addendum.
Okay, great. And my understanding is that in the past, you're building off of tradition, so to speak, in that, pickup trucks were provided as long as the drivers were, insured and had a good driving record and all that kind of good stuff. So that's just the norm at our facility. Is that true?
That's correct. That's how it's been done in the past as well, Commissioner.
Thanks, Len. Oh, hey, look, you're back. Len.
Yeah, I found a new thing on my computer. I didn't know that this little slidey thing existed. Apparently one of my kids must have found it. So you get to see me now.
Nice.
I thought perhaps maybe gum had been put over the camera.
I was rubbing against the little screen thing trying to figure this out. So my apologies. Learning as I go on my own computer.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, if you can put the motion up there, I would love to make that motion, but I can't see the one that you had. So I would move to authorize the executive director to enter into a 2-year security contract for a not to exceed $839,054 with Allied Universal Security Services for applicable guard duties for the Marine Terminal, Marina and Peninsula properties under contract number 2021-1002, effective June 1st, 2021.
Second the motion.
That's so it's been moved and seconded that we authorize, the Sport Commission authorizes the executive director to enter into a 2-year security contract for a not to exceed $839,054 with Allied Universal Security Services for applicable guard duties for the Marine Terminal, the Marina and Peninsula properties under contract number 2021-1002, effective June 1, 2021. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you,
Thank you,
Lynn.
Commissioners.
All right. Nothing under the action of the calendar tonight. Therefore, no public comment on action other items. Moving on to the advisory calendar. We have something called on-call legal consultation and services professional services agreement 2021-1035 for their own Felicia Brown.
Good evening, Commissioners. Felicia Brown, General Counsel for the court, and I'm here this evening to provide an advisory regarding an on-call legal services contract. Next slide, please. So by way of background, Philip Burgess, PLLC, is a law firm that the court has had a contract with for general counsel services that was first approved in April of 2014. That contract had 8 amendments and it expires at the end of this month. The proposed contract is for on-call legal and consulting services. Next slide, please. The current contract expires on May 31st, and it will have a much narrower scope of work than the previous contract and amendments. This scope of work will be confined to support for ongoing matters, and it will also include transition time with myself as in-house counsel regarding matters that I need some type of transition with to get up to speed on the matters, as well as specialty items. This contract would be effective from June 1st, 2021 to May 31st of 2023. Next slide, please. The description of the work within the contract reads as follows: provide on-call special legal counsel advice, support, and representation to the Port of Olympia as requested by Port Legal Counsel and/or Executive Director. An important feature of this contract is that the work would be permitted only on an as-needed basis, and the contract over the 2-year term shall not exceed $200,000. Next slide, please. The next step here is to present this for action at the May 24th, 2021 commission meeting. And for tonight, this is advisory. And so I would ask if there's any questions. I will try to answer them at this time.
Thank you, Felicia. I'd like to turn to my fellow commissioners and Commissioner McGregor or Zita. Do you have any questions of Felicia?
I just have one, if I might. Thanks for the presentation, Felicia, and welcome again to the second of your many, many, many commission meetings that you'll be here. So I appreciate that. So my one question is, who will make the determination on when to use Philip Burgess or when we'll just need in-house counsel such as yourself? Would that be you and the executive director, or how will that, do you envision that working?
I envision that working, that ultimately as the port's in-house counsel, it's my responsibility that I have to make sure that I've given approval for the on-call contract to be used, as well as using the mechanisms to track and label that work. And so those two things are part of the agreement. That way we know internally what the matter is, that it has approval to go outside of the port's counsel, being myself. And then also we have a way to track it and ensure that we're being billed in accordance with what's approved, and I'm able to monitor that.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, Commissioner.
Commissioner Zita, any questions?
Thanks for putting this together, Felicia. I think this is a good thing to have in place while we're transitioning from our old legal counsel system to our new legal counsel system. And welcome again, glad to have you aboard. It would maybe be useful to review for the public how much we have spent in the last couple of years on our legal bills. It's a lot more than this, more than twice this amount per year. And so while this looks like a lot of money, we're hoping to save a considerable amount of money with the new system. If staff have those numbers handy, maybe we could see them next time.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Zita.
Yeah, thanks, commissioners, for your comments. Yes, I'll build off of what Commissioner Zita said, and it's in the packet. 1.7 million we paid to this particular law firm, which is $230,000 a year for 7.5 years. So that's a pile of money. The port has been sued at least a couple of times over that period of time. So my question for you, Felicia, is that, so would you, I mean, if the port got sued and you felt like you needed Heather Burgess's help, is that when you would go to her, or, you know?
Yeah, Commissioner Downing, that's a potential scenario. Typically for in-house counsel, the on-call contract for kind of a special counsel in this case, as opposed to your general counsel, is reserved for matters that have to do with the specialties such as potentially litigation. I think that's the scenario that you've just given the example of, but that would really depend on where we are in that process and all the steps that go into the strategy of how do you respond to some type of claim for action. To elaborate a little bit more on that, even if we go to on-call special counsel, that doesn't mean that as in-house counsel, I would not be part of that and doing part of the work as well.
Thanks, Felicia. You know, I'm concerned that you're tying your hands to have a 2-year contract with Phillips Burgess. You know, I'd rather see, I mean, I can see the need maybe to go out 2 years, but I don't really see that you personally, Felicia, need, you know, 2 years of transition time, but I can see the need for, you know, if something comes up. But I'd rather do this in 2 increments of a 1-year contract for 100,000 and another 1 year, come back to us in a year, and let's see how you feel in a year. So that would be, you know, my preference on this one. You know, I'm pretty smarting from my experience at this port of the gigantic amount of money that we paid out, and some of it's, you know, our own fault, and so we need legal, many legal hours, and this doesn't even count those Seattle lawyers that helped us out with, you know, the big stormwater lawsuit. So I'm more in favor of a $100,000 1-year contract, and then you can come back to us another year. So that's I just let my commissioners know that's where I'm at on that. So. Good.
It's worth noting, Commissioner Downing has given us the figure of 1.7 million over the last few years, over 230 million per year. That's just for legal fees. That's not for the settlements we've had to pay out and for our expenses in fixing things up by agreed orders, which have been many millions more.
Well, I'm comfortable with going out 2 years because I just think that if it goes over 200,000, they have to come back to the commission. It should be a not to exceed number, and they would have to come back to the commission to authorize anything going above that, should it go beyond that amount during the 2-year period. So I think that there is some in transition time, to be fair to Alicia, getting her feet on the ground with some of the issues we've had over the time. And I think there's going to be a need to have that transition. But once that's done, and I don't know that it's going to be an extended period of time, I think that's where we're going to start to see the benefits of having an in-house counsel that can deal with a lot of the more mundane things that happen, leases and looking at legal, and receiving any kind of a suit and evaluating whether she needs to have that kind of action or that kind of support. We have to leave that up to her. And I just think that a 2-year period is adequate for that to happen and give her time to evaluate the process. So I'm fine with 2 years. I just think it's a not to exceed, and that's how I'm pretty sure how the motion will come back to. So thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. And you are correct, Commissioner McGregor, that it would be a not to exceed recommended motion.
Okay, then if there's nothing else, let's go ahead and move to the next item, which is resolution 2021-02 commission rules. And Felicia, you still have the floor.
I do. So I'm going to introduce myself again. Good evening, commissioners. Felicia Brown, General Counsel. I'm providing another advisory this evening, and this one has to do with the rules resolution red line. And today I am offering an updated rules resolution that incorporates the edits and changes that we discussed at the May 3rd work session. And all of those edits are reflected by comment boxes. Aspen, if you could take us, I believe, to page 3. And if you stop there at the top, the commissioners can see in this document that anywhere where the language has been redlined and previously discussed with the commission at the work session, there is a comment that references the summary agreement, specifically that red line edit relates to. And by way of reminder, these are agreements that the commissioners made on March 15th during their work session. And on May 3rd, we went through the red line, and those red lines have been incorporated with 2 exceptions, I believe on pages 10 and 15, where you will see tracked language for the commissioner's consideration and review. Staff is bringing this to the commission today as advisory and informational. And the objective is to make sure that the redlined and edited language accurately captures the agreements that the commission entered into on March 15th.
Alicia, so we're not going to go through these one by one tonight. Are you ready for questions, or what's your plan?
Yeah, I think that at this point, the highlighted language is, denoted by comments, and that I can take any questions and make sure that the language is clear, is capturing accurately the summary agreements.
Great. In that case, I will ask my fellow commissioners. I hope you had a chance to look this over one more time. And do you have any questions for Felicia? Commissioner Zita.
On page 9 of this draft, that's page 28 of the PDF in our original packet.
Yes.
That's it. Any commissioner or the executive director may make a point of order during the meeting if necessary. A point of order might be, rules may have been broken when a point of order is made. Just because a point of order is called does not mean that rules have been broken. They might have been, they might not. That is yet to be determined. So I'd say we rewrite that any commissioner or the executive director may make a point of order if necessary.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that too. I'm just fine with that. I mean, you're taking out a commissioner's either you're taking out during the meeting, but that can be assumed, any
Yes, it
commissioner.
can.
Okay, that's fine then. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry I didn't catch that last time, Felicia.
It's quite all right. And I have it down right here that going forward, it will read, any commissioner or the executive director may make a point of order if necessary.
Thank you.
Yes.
So Felicia, I had one. Can we go to page 10? And right there. And I'm not sure I like that last or like the readability of that last sentence. Let me try to read it. After all who have signed up are called, the commission may, the discretion of the president. So I mean, I can we do this? After all who have signed up are called, the commission president may accept further public comment. And is that good? Just leave it at that. Yeah, good.
Good.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. I think I have that edit as well.
Oh, I guess I got one more. Page 14. And thanks. Right under D, written public comments submitted directly to commissioners or to the commission coordinator pursuant to Article, that should be Article 9, not 11. Is that right? I'm asking the question. I think that we're talking about referring back to Article 9, paragraph B. No?
Yeah, Article 11 is these rules may be amended by resolution. So I think you're.
Yeah. So.
Commissioner, I think you're correct.
No, I'm not sure I am. Written public comments submitted directly to commissioners pursuant to Article something above. I'll just say something above. And I think it's before Article 9.
If the commissioners cannot recall this particular agreement from the summary, I can verify and look at the edits and the process that occurred to figure out where this reference is. I read it as referencing the article that it is within.
I'm just about to find it. I think it's Article 6. Yeah, I think it's Article 6, paragraph 3, procedures for providing written comment. So that's my only correction is I just wanted, double check. You talk about something that above, and I think it's Article 6, not Article 11. So, it's just a Roman numeral issue.
Thank you, Commissioner. I will
Okay.
verify that and make sure that it is accurate.
Okay, that's all I had. Commissioner McGregor or Zeta, anything else there?
No, I'm fine with it. Thank you. Thanks for those corrections from both of you. Makes it clear, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Great. Okay, then. At this time, we're going to move to public comment on advisory items, and we had 2 advisory items. The on-call legal consultation and services professional agreement, 2021-35, and also the resolution 2021-02 commission rules, which we just finished discussing. Is there any public comment Anyone wanting to give public comment on either of those port issues? Okay, I don't hear any public comment requests, so I think we'll just go ahead and move on to commissioner reports and discussion. Commissioner Zito or McGregor, either one of you would like to give a special report?
I'll go first unless Commissioner Zeta is ready to go, and I'll let her have the floor. Nope, I'll go first then. The EDC met on the 28th of last month, and I think I sent to Sam a summary that I had that I hope she passed on to you. Just give you a summary of activity on there. On the 4th, we had the ship Stanley Bay in, almost brand new ship. And I had the pleasure of giving it a vessel plaque, something that we haven't done for quite a while. But it's interesting to note that the supercargo and such that are normally on the ship are now operating out of their vehicles on the dock. And so there are some COVID precautions that everyone is still taking there. We wore our masks and did the presentation accordingly. But it was nice to get back on the ship and to visit with the captain for a short period of time. I would note that Lacey Chamber on August, I'm thinking ahead of myself here, on May 5th, had their first in-person event at the golf course. What is the one over here on Yelm Highway?
Indian Summer?
Yes, thank you. My mind went blank. Thank you. Indian Summer. They had a pretty good turnout. They are going to be doing it again as long as it's permitted. And so we're starting to see some normalcy coming back in. I know there's been several service clubs that are doing in-person and Zoom meetings still, trying to reconnect with members. So that's always nice to see. And then there was a great article and in the Olympian as well as Como News covering the micro houses that are being done in our warehouse with the Longshore lending the assistance of volunteer labor to move those things into place. I think there's 33 of them that have been completed, and they're racing to get to those 60 done and get them in place over there. But I think it's being well received. A lot of the people, I shouldn't say a lot, a few of the people over there that are in the mitigation site are busy working in the warehouse, helping to build these homes. And it's giving some of them a real lift and the self-confidence that they didn't have before this started. So perhaps the activity of building and providing for others will be something that they can then take, and those trade skills that they're using may be able to put them to work somewhere too as well. But there's seems to be a real effort by those that are doing and helping and assisting and volunteering over in that place that gives them a real sense of ownership. And so glad to see that happening. So but it was a good article that was on Como, and I think that's the height of it. So thank you.
How about you, Commissioner Zita?
Well, thanks, Commissioner McGregor, for mentioning the micro housing that's being built in the warehouse. Some of the people who've been living at the mitigation site have actually taken on a lot of responsibility in designing the process of constructing those homes. It's a pretty amazing setup that they have there, and I hope that this is just the start and that they're able to continue constructing those homes, if not at the marine terminal, then somewhere, because they've got a great setup going. And some of the homeless people have been instrumental in designing the process and getting it done. Let's see. I went to the Thurston Regional Planning Council last Friday, and a high point was the Thurston Buildable Lands report. The TRPC staff have analyzed where Thurston County is going in the future. No surprise, lots more people are moving in, and we need more housing. And TRPC has set targets to build housing in urban areas in order to keep our greenhouse gas footprint low And in order to get rapid transit down here to the Olympia area quicker, like light rail, we're not likely to meet those targets unless we do more. And one of the takeaway messages was that in order to meet those targets, we're going to have to meet the Thurston Climate Mitigation Plan targets and the Sustainable Thurston targets. That includes dense urban development of affordable housing and forest preservation. Another interesting piece of news is that ChairPC has already convened a broadband planning group. You'll remember that this commission tasked our POCAC with studying options for broadband planning. Well, Thurston County's already doing it. So we have the option of joining that group and plugging in with people who are already starting that planning process. So I hope we will consider that option. They've got the right players at the table and we should be there too. You've probably heard that the state legislature has broadened opportunities for broadband. A few years ago, they said ports in all counties could install dark fiber. Now ports can also provide broadband service. Not that we have to, but it is an option. So there's a lot of planning going on, and I think we should be at the table. One other piece of news, I'm serving on the SWAC's committee to evaluate proposals for solid waste management in Thurston County. It'll be a 5-year contract that will start in 2 years. It'll be it'll be around $100 million. So we're doing a lot of work evaluating those proposals right now.
I'm kind of confused by that. Could you, because I'm on the SWAC committee, Commissioner Zeta, but you're talking about, could you say that again? What the SWAC, you're talking about a contract for what purpose is that contract? I missed that.
So over the last year or so, the SWAC did a lot of work, mostly the county staff did a lot of work putting out a request for proposals for waste management services in Thurston County, all kinds of waste management services. And those proposals have been received and we are now evaluating them. I suggested that you be on the proposal evaluation committee, Commissioner Downing, but since I had been on SWAC for a long time and was familiar with all the plans and proposals we had written up, they preferred to keep me on. So I said, okay.
Okay, got it. Good. Well, thanks, Zeta. Well, that coincidentally, I went to a SWAC meeting last Wednesday, and I think the major topic is the future design of the waste recovery facility over there on Hogan Bay Road, or that exit 111. And they're in the early stages of planning and choosing a way to remodel that to more separate commercial from residential traffic and so on and so forth, and also build capacity for the future. The waste stream is way up, of course, coming off of a year of COVID, perhaps, or for whatever reason, waste is not abating. So we need a bigger facility there. So that was a good meeting. Also, Executive Director Gibney and I met with Chris Peters last Thursday, and got his ideas for the tribal honor statement. So I think that all 3 commissioners have met with him, if I'm not mistaken. So we're ready to move forward with that. So that's great. And then last but not least, I really would like to commend our executive director and port staff for finding a way to, again, work with these tiny homes. And I went down there last Friday morning. I was invited down by one of the workers, somebody I know, Mary Campbell, and she invited me down to tour that facility. And I met the head guy, Aaron Schoenfield, another guy named Jimmy. And it's just pretty remarkable that, And I know I heard that my fellow commissioners had already been there, and that's great. It's just pretty remarkable that we're able to help with that and really provide the space, and the Longshore are willing to donate their hours as well. So that's just a great, great, happy story for the port. So anyway, that's my report.
Commissioner
Oh, Sam,
County,
you're going to comment?
if I might, I just wanted to follow up and inform the commission that I indeed have been in attendance of all the broadband meetings with the county and the other players there. We're working to see what the various roles that the agencies can play. And once we get that a little further scoped out, I will be reporting back to the commission. But wanted to assure you that we are at the table, and I am personally attending those meetings.
Well, great. That brings us to, is there any other business before we go to meeting announcements? Commissioner Zeta?
Yeah, we have asked the POCAC to study a couple of things, and I wanted to share our tasks to the POCAC and the past POCAC work. And I'm not finding that on the website anymore. And I asked staff and no one was able to supply a link. So I'm not sure if it's missing or if it's just hard to find, but still having some issues with that website.
I can answer that. Yeah, they past POCAC reports were not loaded up. That's just an oversight. So we have a key staff member out this week. When they return, we'll get that loaded up and have that task more, or that tab more fully populated.
Thank you. Thank you. That brings us to meeting announcements. So we have commission work session regularly scheduled, and that'll be May 17 at 2:30 p.m. May 18th, the public is welcome to attend the Citizen Advisory Committee meeting at 6 p.m. Then on May 24th at 5:30 p.m. we have a commission meeting, our next commission meeting. So we're off into May. Won't be much longer. We'll be back in person, but for the time being, I appreciate you all attending this Zoom meeting tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank
We
you.
are adjourned. Thank you. Good night.